about grief all month long, as we do, and that is in anticipation of National Grief Awareness Day, which is actually on Friday of this week, if you weren't aware of that. And it is one of those things where they're actually working on making it a real thing. So it's not there yet. There's a petition on change.org, and you can find that in a link in the comments of most of the platforms you'll find. And yeah, so that's why I've been doing this, and that's why I have been showing up in in your feed on tonight on a couple of different areas. So I got to go to the beach, which was very exciting, and that meant that I didn't do a whole lot of live streaming last week. Basically. So my plan was to do one a day through the month of August, and now I'm fuzzy. Hopefully that'll come back. So I didn't end up doing that. So what I wanted to do last week was supposed to be the positive things that can happen after loss, which if you're actively going through loss and this is going to trigger you and you think I'm crazy, feel free to not watch. I won't be offended. I totally understand. And one of the things that I wrote down for last week, a couple of things. One of the things was I wanted to talk about finding peace and figuring out to know what you need and then asking for what you need and then remembering and being okay with and encouraging people to tell the story of the people that you've lost. And then the next day was going to be the elephant in the room, which if you've lost someone or you know someone who has lost someone, often there's this elephant in the room that hangs out. People don't know what to say. Everyone knows this person is no longer in your life, whether because they died, because you've gotten divorced, or there's some estrangement. So there's that elephant in the room that happens. And then hopefully comes support and understanding, which was going to be the next day. And I wrote down journaling also as a way that we get to some of these things. And then being with people. When you're ready, be with people. And whatever that looks like for you, even if it's just sitting in a cafe and people watching. That's something I enjoyed doing, was just going out and being where people were. Not that I necessarily needed to talk to someone all the time, but just being able to go and be in the place made a huge difference for me over the years. So I'm going to dig a little bit more into each of these, but it was a really neat idea to have all these things laid out, and they would have been really great mini conversations. So this one's going to be a little bit longer than the other ones. Everything's been about 5 minutes. Okay. So getting into things, finding peace. I've probably found some peace to some degree, largely because I've been working very actively talking about my grief, and from creating the legacy recorder and from being a place where people can come share their grief stories. So when people find out that I help people work with the people they love to tell their life stories, inevitably there's a grief conversation that happens. I have one of those faces that just makes people comfortable, and they open up to me and they share things with me that they wouldn't share with most people. So as far as that goes with helping me find peace, I've been able to take the pain I've had and help translate that into something that works for everyone. Hello, Troy. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah. So finding peace is finding it wherever you are. And it doesn't mean that you have to be peaceful all the time. I'm in no way saying that. But I think it's good to pursue that a little bit. And of course, acknowledging that there's the pain there, but also finding that other side of being able to find peace in whatever moment you're in. Not that Oh, where was I going? And it might not come right away. It takes time. So it took a lot of time for me to find that. And I found peace in lots of random places. Um, so I had babies right around when my dad died. So there were these moments of peace where I was feeding one or walking in the stroller, or the first time they were swinging and they smiled while they were swinging. Those were moments I found peace in. Um, okay, so next bit was knowing what you need. So something I've worked on is when I find those moments of peace, I try to journal and write down, or at least catalog in my brain, what was going on for me when I felt that peace or that moment of like just calmness in all the crazy. And this goes for anyone who's experiencing something that is traumatic. It doesn't have to be um, death. So, knowing what you need to find that peace is so, so massive. Like, if you can figure out what that looks like for you and hold on to those pieces, and then, pursue those moments, pursue those experiences that help you find that, is just huge. So, the next part of that is asking for what you need. And, so identifying when you feel it, that's the knowing part. And then being able to ask for it. So, asking for the help from the people in your life to help you not recreate, but experience those new moments that can help you bring peace. And that's huge. So I'm going to smash tell their story and the elephant in the room together. Um, it's just one of those things, especially if someone's just passed away, or there's been a split in a family. We kind of treat it as the elephant in the room. And if you're in different countries watching this, I don't know if it's culturally a US thing. I've been in a number of different cultures, but this doesn't often come up. And I'm like let's get out in front of it and like let's talk about it kind of person, obviously, because I do these live streams, I like talk about it. But there's this huge elephant in the room. Like, no one's sure, like, is it a trigger? Like, is it, am I going to make you cry if I say their name? And, my suggestion is to ask the person, first of all. You can say, you can ask questions or say, hey, I want to share this story with you about your loved one. Are you okay if I do that? And if they say no, zip your lips. Okay? If you ask someone, can I tell you something, or may I tell you something, and they say no, for the love of everything, don't continue talking. Okay? And if you've been in situations with people, which if you're human, you've been hanging out with people, you have seen this happen. You have seen someone say, I'd really want to share this story with you. And someone says, I really don't want to, or I don't want to hear it, or I can't hear it right now. And then they tell you anyways. And it's like, for whatever reason, like it wasn't something I could, you couldn't process in that moment. You couldn't like be present. You couldn't enjoy the story. And generally when people are talking to us about our loved ones, we want to be able to enjoy that. We want to be able to, say thank you. So just, I would try to keep in mind that it's not always about you. And as about the other person, the one who's in pain, and try very kindly put in, identify when you feel it and ask for help to deal with it. Yes. And to experience it again. So if you're the person who has experienced the grief and you're experiencing the loss, if it is in you, just acknowledge the elephant in the room. I'm a big proponent of, hey, I know this person died. I want to talk about them, or I want to hear stories about them, and encouraging people to use their name. The person had a name. And I see so many times where people are afraid to say the name of the person who died. And it really varies for each person, which is another point that I wanted to bring up, is that it's your journey. It's your journey. So you do it however you need to do it in order to process and work through, and do you do what you need to do and what that looks like. Looking for that support and understanding, the people who are in your life, if they are in my opinion, if they love you, they will support you. And even if they don't fully understand what's going on, they can still love you and help you find that peace. I have found that journaling for me is a really big way to get through a lot of this stuff. And yeah, so that's those are kind of the good things. Those are some good things, is figuring out how to work through these things, and then being on the other side of actually having done the work. It's been really good, and it's allowed me to be able to have healing conversations with people that they wouldn't have had otherwise, which has been pretty amazing. So that is tonight's live stream. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching the replay. Thanks for joining live if you joined live. I will be doing at least one more, possibly 2 more lives this week, on parts of this topic. There was a experience that my brother and I got to go on called Grief Gone Wild, and it's a program that was happened in Phoenix, and you'll have to come back tomorrow to hear more about that. But it was just an incredible experience for both my brother and I after our dad passed away. So with that, I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful evening. And until I see you on the next live stream, happy writing.